So just to pull the camera back a bit, this bill is called in the House the America Competes bill, and I wrote recently that a better name for it, for the process that we're watching, is why America doesn't compete, because we seem unable to get this done. It's been more than a year since this
Yeah.
was passed by a bipartisan majority in the Senate. Let me just ask you, as somebody who knows the country, our system well, what's going on here? Why are we unable to do something that there seems to be consensus bipartisan support for?
Yeah, I think and I've somewhat thought through that question also in the context of why the Europeans could start a year later than us and now be ahead of us. Literally, our proposal for our German fab is now being reviewed for approval by the European competition community. Essentially, the ones who would be responsible for that in the U.S. would be the Commerce Department, with Secretary Raimondo. We're now in the final stages of approval in Europe, and I say, why has that gone so well, right? When this has gone so hard in the U.S. And fundamentally, I think that the U.S. decided that industrial policy is bad. And where exactly that emerged and how that's emerged over decades now, that being involved in deciding where we want industries, do we want manufacturing on American shore? What do we care about for the long term success of the nation? That is no longer appropriate for us, that we're going to be solely allowing that to free market behavior. And I'm a free marketer, and let's compete in the global market. A globalist. But fundamentally, when for 3 decades we've seen nations, and this is number, in the top five of China's last five-year plan. So for 2.5 decades, this has been, the semiconductor industry has been in the top of their list. Taiwan has had industrial policy in place. Korea, Japan, in these areas for decades, and we've just said, let free market reign. Well, when they're putting 30, 40, 50% incentives for these massive capital investments, free market leads to 80% shifting to Asia. It's a very natural outcome. And we've seen our supply chains where costs, Wall Street driven cost estimates are the only thing that matters. So we've gone to just in time, minimize cost. Post COVID, we have to go to resilient, just in case, just in time, the just in case. And I think our aversion to any form of industrial policy has created a backdrop that makes it so politically hard to get anything done versus Europe, where they're very oriented with this idea of industrial policy, that we must be taking steps for the outlook of our national interests for the long term. And so much of that is embedded in key technologies and key industries for the future.